like to call the meeting to order. Roll call of aldermen.
Alderman Kinsella.
Here.
Alderman Hazel.
Here.
Alderwoman Pusa. Here. Alderwoman Duco. Here. Alderman Randall.
Here.
Alderman Ferguson.
Here.
Alderman Anthony.
Here.
Alderman Obian.
Here.
Alderman Dintelman.
Here.
Alderwoman Schaefer.
Here.
Alderwoman Steele.
Here.
Alderman Rothweiler.
Here.
Alderman Elmore.
Here.
Alderman Weigott.
Here.
Alderman Wiggington. Alderman Barfield.
Here. All 16 aldermen present. Roll call of department heads.
City Treasurer Hart.
Here.
City Attorney Horner.
Here.
Police Chief Bill Clay. Fire Chief Tom Poor. Finance Director Jamie Matrit. Director of Maintenance Ken Vaughn.
Here.
Director of Public Works Jason Poole.
Here.
Director of Wastewater Royce Carlisle.
Here.
Interim Director of Residential and Commercial Development Services Anissa McCaskill. Here. Director of Library Leander Spearman. Director of IT Scott Markovich.
Lander's excused. The police chief and fire chief are both excused, and the assistant police chief and the deputy fire chief are here in their behalf. They had something this evening, each of them. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are able, if you'd please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no public hearing today. We go to public participation. I know there's a number of people here tonight, and if you're interested in public participation, when I say so, raise your hand. I will call on you one at a time. When I acknowledge you, just come up to the microphone, give your name. Try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes and pertaining to something that's either on tonight's agenda or specifically at least city business. So at this time, I will open public participation. Who would like to, yes, ma'am, in the front row, or second row. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have some handouts for folks if they could follow along right quick. I thought that would be easier to follow. My name is Gigi Dowling Urban. I'm actually a relative newcomer to Belleville, having moved here in the last 3 years. And I love the place. My late husband, Don Urban, grew up here and had family businesses here. So actually there's a number of folks from Ward 2, and this is regarding an incident that occurred on Friday night. Let's see, let me make sure I have my copy. My name is Gigi Dowling Urban. I'm a resident of Ward 2. Dear friends of mine who reside on North Charles Street apprised me of a dangerous situation that occurred on Friday night. They told me that on Friday, October 18th, they returned to their home and saw multiple police cars and officers investigating a running gun battle that had just occurred. They told me that multiple shell casings had been collected and that both homes and vehicles had been hit by gunfire. They and their neighbors were traumatized by the incident and were angry and frightened. First of all, I would really like to thank the Belleville Police for their prompt and professional help. It's my understanding, both from Carmen Duco and from Mayor Eckert, that they already have a subject in custody. I'd also like to thank Mayor Eckert, who responded to my email within an hour on Sunday morning for keeping me abreast of the situation. Again, I have a very empathic response, and I really, really do want to thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Alderwoman Carmen Duco for her response. While I do not agree with everything she said, I appreciate her concern. As of noon today, I've received no response from Alderwoman Pusa. I did receive, however, a response from Chief Clay, and just got it late, and I didn't have a chance to.
He has a lengthy email
Right.
for you with a response for all of you that you can share.
Right. Our concerns are twofold. The first is the specific incident that occurred on North Charles Street. The second is the general level of crime, especially violent crime, that's occurring in Belleville. As to the Friday night incident, I was very surprised that no one in a leadership position reached out to the residents of North Charles Street to see if they were okay or needed additional assistance until specific residents began emailing representatives. And those responses weren't comprehensive. A coordinated effort by our city officials and the police would have greatly reassured residents that the matter was under control, like you just did, Mayor Eckert, and I appreciate that. Furthermore, while I appreciate Ms. Duco's response time, I found no comfort with her assertion, and this is a quote, that these types of crimes are normally not random and are usually drug-related or domestic disputes. If someone on North Charles Street had been killed or seriously injured, their families wouldn't care that the bullets that injured or killed them were not intended for them, that they were merely collateral damage in a drug-related or domestic dispute gun battle. There have been scores of children killed and injured in St. Louis as that type of collateral damage, and that's not acceptable there, and it certainly isn't acceptable here. As long as leadership assumes that these things just happen, change will not occur, and change is necessary to prevent another potentially serious incident. Friday's incident is a red flag. While I agree we don't want to overact, I also want us to honestly confront the statistics. During the last month, September 14th through October 11th, there were calls for service for the following categories of serious crimes. So this is in a 1-month period, and this is from the Belleville Police Calls for Service. Disturbance, verbal and physical, 78. Domestic disputes, 69. Burglary, 26. Burglary to vehicle, 19. Fights with and without weapons, 17. There were 18 batteries, there were 41 threats, 3 stolen vehicles, there were 3 armed robberies, there were 12 incidents where residents in Belleville called because they heard shots fired in their neighborhood. There were 3 home invasions, 2 subjects were shot, and they found 2 subjects with weapons. Just a reminder that this was in 1 month, and they don't include Friday's incident. According to cityrating.com, in 2016, the city violent crime rate in Belleville was higher than the violent crime rate in Illinois by 39.26%, and it was also higher than the national violent crime rate by 53.2%. It's my understanding and a real credit to our police force that overall crime has been decreasing since 2016. But some analysts, actually most analysts, predict another rise in 2019. I have the utmost respect for our hardworking police, but it's essential that they receive all the assistance and resources necessary to combat these issues on our behalf. To that end, I'd like to recommend the following for your consideration. A rapid response communication team so that municipal leaders are apprised as soon as possible about situations like Friday nights, and that those same municipal leaders have a coordinated response to residents within 24 hours, including status of the investigation and referrals to agencies or resources available to help them. That would have helped the residents and the neighbors in that neighborhood amazingly. They didn't know that one of the suspects was under custody. Was in custody. They spent Saturday worrying about, is this going to happen again? Okay. A combined citizen task force of representatives from the police, the city council, and citizens from each ward in the city to assist in providing direction and oversight. And this is a toughie because you guys love Belleville, but an acknowledgement from our municipal leaders that crime's an issue here, and that part of the responsible governance is addressing that issue in a comprehensive and proactive way. Our officers do a wonderful job of addressing crime once it has occurred, but we also need to be able to take a look at proactively preventing it. I want to thank you so much for your time. We all love Belleville. We want it to be a very blessed place that it can be. Crime's a multifaceted problem with many variables, and we want to work together to help solve it. So thank you very much for your time.
And Gigi, I will just say this, as I told you before we started. Chief did craft a very lengthy response with crime statistics that we provide the FBI. They gathered quite a bit today. I don't know, is that where you got yours from the FBI or recently, or?
I got mine, and these were 2016, the 30% and everything like that was from City Data, I think, .com, and it was based on the unified reporting statistics from the FBI. Now, in fairness, and this is a credit to Belleville, okay, though the crime rates have dropped since 2016. 2016 was kind of a really apex kind of period. 2017 has dropped, 2018, but most analysts predict that there's going to be an increase in 2019. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that 12 calls for shots fired in Belleville neighborhoods is like
But let me just say this, and I'm not disputing that
scary.
we haven't had some, but some of those calls I know for a fact because I get follow-up. Some are firecrackers.
Right.
Some are backfired cars. They're unfounded. So we've had some issues.
Right.
We're not denying that. But I think if you read the chief's report, I would say you can certainly share it with neighbors. We are willing to meet with the neighbors. And as we said, and until they gather their facts, it's hard to run out. When I found out no one was hurt, thank goodness, it's hard until they have a chance to complete their investigation to go out and start maybe gathering people or sharing information that we don't know. Certainly if someone would have been hurt, I'd have been out there and others certainly doing what we could to extend any type of support that could have been possibly given. But we are still investigating it. It is under investigation, this situation, and they are making great progress, and I think we'll have more to share that you'll be pleased. But the chief's got a pretty extensive answer. I did not read it word for word, but I read it on my phone when I finished one meeting upstairs coming down here, and it's on your email as well.
One thing that I wanted to do, the reason that I wanted to talk is that although I don't live on that street, friends of mine do, and I am a resident of Belleville and certainly have concerns, and I love Belleville. I think it's great, and I wanted to make sure that city council members were aware of it and aware of the concerns. But I also want to mention to you that because there was no coordinated outreach to residents, you didn't hear the stories. You didn't hear the stories of the Reverend who left to go to the restroom, and when he came back, his window was shot out, and the bullet had come through his thing to the chair that he'd been sitting in. You didn't hear the story about the grandparents. I have folks here that would like to share some of those, but we wanted to personalize that for you because it's not just a set of police reports. This could have been tragic. People were shielding in place to protect their grandchildren during that. It was pretty dramatic. So thank you very much for your time. I don't want to take too much, and I appreciate it.
I can tell you, we will be getting with you and sitting down and going through this as we get the investigation to the point where hopefully we get subjects in custody and all of them, and that we are allowed to say a little bit more.
Okay.
So, okay? Thank you for all of your concern.
Thank you.
And don't hesitate to call. We are attending to this, and we take it very seriously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Johnny Kicklighter. I live at the corner of 12 Kircher and North
Okay.
Charles where the incident took place. You walk down the tavern 5 blocks north and you'll be there where it happened. It happened right in front of my house. I don't have statistics. All I can tell you is that my wife saw the perps running up the street. Her and my grandson were watching Spider-Man in the living room. The bullet that penetrated the pastor's apartment, he lives directly in front of me. And had the perp been just 30 degrees over to the left, the bullet would have penetrated the window of my house and struck my grandchild. I just wanted to make this personal. And I've got some photos I'd like to share with you. I could just pass them to you. That'd be all right.
Okay, we'll take them and we'll put them we'll get them to city clerk.
Thank you very much. Sir, I've lived here for 26 years.
And I'm going to share it with the police chief tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Retired military, work at Scott. We love Belleville, and we want to help and assist in whatever we can do.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to we're not giving up. We don't have this as a regular, but we've had a few situations. I can't go into much detail, but so many of the time they're not been recently. The problems we have had have not been random. I'm going to say it that way. People know each other, and there's been issues between people dealing with each other's problems, and that's how they choose, and that's wrong.
I understand, and I read about this in the paper and hear it in the news where innocent children are hit by bullets as innocent bystanders. I never thought would be this close to me, though.
I hear you, and I'm with you, and I'm a grandfather too, and it scares the bejeebers out of me. So thank you for being here. Okay, yes, ma'am?
Hi, my name's Tracy Ertwine. I also live on North Charles. I just wanted to say that my personal truck was hit 15 times. My windows were all busted out. I've got bullet holes all down the driver's side. One of our boat trailers was shot up. Our other truck had the back window shot out. Our garage door was shot at and hit twice. So I have 3 vehicles that were hit. Mine's probably totaled from it, as well as my home. And I have not even seen this on the news or read about it. I was curious of why.
Well,
there's been no media coverage at all.
We're not hiding anything. I mean, I think it's true. I'm not picking on our local news, but they don't have as many people working the weekend that they used to. There's certainly, if they would call for a situation like this, they would get they would get the preliminary that they could release. And unfortunately, if somebody doesn't call the St. Louis media, if they have time, they come to Belleville, but if they don't have time, if they're busy in St. Louis, they don't come over here just on a regular nightly basis. So, I mean, I can only tell you that, you know, we're not keeping anything from the news, but there's not as many of them that used to be over here on the beat on a weekend basis like we used to have.
It wasn't in the paper either. I mean, there's been like nothing of anything. I'm just shocked that it hasn't gotten any type of recognition at all.
Well, and like I said, that one's out of my control. I don't control the paper.
Okay. Well, I
So-
just wanted to,
No, I hear you.
okay.
And we usually try to take things to the paper once we got a lot more facts, but, you know, but in the meantime, if the paper knows about the story and they come to the city, we're gonna tell them what we know.
Okay. Well, thank
Okay.
you.
All right, sir?
You probably already figured out by now I'm the pastor that was where the bullet came through my window. And I'm not so much as going to be repetitive about continually saying that because I'm here. So that's the blessing part, that I'm here. But I would like to know the people whose vehicles and stuff that got tore up, is it some kind of assistance that the city can give them without them increasing their insurance rates and those kind of things, trying to find windows to put back into their own cars? Is there something, a victimless crime or something of that matter?
I will ask some questions tomorrow, but my initial reaction is we don't have an insurance pool for that, unfortunately. I don't think we do. Once, if someone's brought to justice, could they be held responsible for, reciprocity for damage? That's something to be brought up at court. That could happen. But on the short term, every time somebody has some damage in the city with a case, we don't necessarily, we're not able to go out and fix it immediately because we don't have those kind of.
And I understand that. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you fixing it completely, but I mean, these people should have some kind of assistance. That's what I think.
I
That's
know,
just my personal
I
thought.
hear what you're saying. I just know that with all the different situations that occur throughout the city on any given day, accidents, et cetera, and horrible things, this is not normal for the city. But I hear what you're saying 100%. I will do some asking, but I don't know right now of anything that would be of assistance to those who had windows shot out until it gets to the point in the court that hopefully somebody would be held responsible. And I hope we see that, okay?
That's fine. We appreciate you asking.
Well, and I will do some asking tomorrow, but off the top of my head, I don't think I have any quick answers on that. You want to answer it, Matt? This is our Assistant Police Chief, Matt Icecant, and
The Attorney General's Office has a Crime Victim Compensation Act that does reimburse victims of violent crime.
so, Pastor, did you hear that?
The Attorney General's Office has a Crime Victim Compensation Act. You can get with Master Sergeant Kebby. He's actually one of the detectives that worked this case, and he can get you in contact who you would need to call. But they do have different compensations for crime victims.
See, I just learned something myself because I didn't know that program was, in this case would work. I mean, that's why that's who I was gonna go ask tomorrow, him or Chief Clay. So he was in the back. Okay, very good. Thanks, Matt. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Denise June. I live at 608 North Charles. We were not home when the incident happened. We drove up right after it happened when the police were taping everything off. I saw my neighbors. I saw just lights galore. And thankfully, to your brother's vehicle sitting in front of my house did not get shot up. His car did. So I am so thankful that none of us were hurt. It was just property. It could have been so much worse.
We agree and we understand.
And I just really hope that there will be some earnest effort in making some changes in our neighborhood to make it safer for the people who actually own property and have invested and made our choice to be in Belleville. Okay?
We're investigating it very quickly and very sincerely and seriously, and we're going to do everything we can. And we do have some extra eyes out there trying to keep the best, eye on what's going on, because, people this is terrible once. We don't do everything in our power to keep it from happening twice. But I hate to say it, and this is not a simple brush stroke statement, but it's a crazy world we live in today. We're seeing things today, not only in our town, but other cities nearby and far, that none of us have seen before. It's amazing how many people are out there all over bringing guns with them when they go all over now, and it's scary. It really is. And I worry about our police officers, and I worry about our citizens, and we take this very seriously. We had of all the calls I get throughout the night at times from the police department and the chief, et cetera, when they tell you different things go on, you just worry, extremely about the citizens. So hopefully we can get this one under control and see some extreme progress, that we can see what brought this about, and hopefully get these people brought to justice. So thank you. And to my assistant chief and my lieutenant, before you leave tonight, I do want to talk to you, okay? Because I know how tomorrow starts again. It starts crazy, and I'll be chasing you guys. I just got a couple things I didn't get a chance to talk to you about late this afternoon. Okay, anybody else this evening at public participation? Yes, sir. I promise we are willing to meet with you guys, though, because, go ahead.
I'm Mark June. I live at 608 North Charles Street. We were able to run the arrested individual's record, and my only concern is he's got over 20 arrests. Why is he still in Section 8 housing? We need to have that stepped up, and that needs to be investigated. And the numbers of things that go on in that apartment have been going on for years. I know they've changed the number of ownerships. It has gone back and forth, but clearly something has fallen through the cracks to allow these types of people in our neighborhood with all kinds of records and the such, and I think we need housing to step up, and we would appreciate that.
Well, housing is, and the crime-free housing is gonna step into this once they get the criminal part of it investigated quickly, and you'll find that there'll be action taken that we couldn't take a few years ago, that we'll be dealing with accordingly, and it will be very proper. But we can't pass sweeping judgment until we have all the facts, or we'll be in court for, being unfair, and my city attorney will be nudging me here in a minute. We gotta make sure that everybody gets a fair evaluation, and we gotta follow the law, and it'll take us, where we need to go. But we will, and sometimes there's misconceptions I don't wanna go into now, but we are looking at all aspects of this. The situation of the crime, as well as the housing component, it's all gonna be looked at.
Okay.
I guarantee you. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing that, yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Olga. I'm the one who called 911, and I want to say a few words. My neighbors actually said everything. I just want to please ask you, do something about it. It's really scary. It's one thing when you see in a movie, one thing when you're watching video or hear somebody. But when I saw the guy with a gun looking straight at my direction through the window, I fell down on the floor, flat.
Smart move.
Living up to 50 years old, I never thought I would experience it. It's not wartime. It's really scary. It's so scary. I was crying half of a day, next morning, and I realized, that's really a case when you need some psychological help or something. Talk to somebody, because It's a shock. Seriously, something needs to be done.
And
I love all my neighbors.
We're going to do everything we
Such
can, ma'am.
great people on the street, but that troubled building with, I don't know who is living in that, but that needs to be taken care of, please.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm not trying to tell you I totally understand, but I will tell you this. A number of years ago, and my wife's in the back of the room tonight, we were awakened in the middle of the night, and we live over near Roosevelt School, to about 10, 12 gunshots, and they shot the neighbor's car, and it was a drug situation. They were retaliating against the young man who lived there at the house with his folks, and it scared us, and our kids cried. They were younger 10 years ago, and you know, the youngest one, I'm not telling you I know exactly what you're feeling, but I know what we felt that night. We were scared. And thank goodness we haven't had many of those situations. We're seeing, one of them's too many. But I want you to know seriously, I do personally understand when you wake up at 3 in the morning, in our case, to multiple gunshots, it just scared everybody. And of course, I thought at first they were coming at my house because I'm the mayor. I really did. I get enough people get mad, but they were unfortunately across the street at the car, and it did a lot of damage. So we are going to work on this. We will communicate through Gigi and some of you, and we're not done with this. And I do appreciate you coming tonight, but you got to give us, and here's the other thing I want to tell you. I don't want anybody, you can't make it up, but if you see anything that gives you a funny feeling in your stomach, you got to call. If you got anything that's suspicious, you've got to call the police. You can't assume that we know, and you can't, if you get that funny feeling in your stomach, something doesn't look right, call the police.
I'm sorry, I live in that house 5 years now, and I swear, only me made about probably a dozen of calls just about that building, fights and all that stuff. They beating kids on the street, all that. I have videotape. It's just horrible. I swear, if you pull out the police record for the last 5 years, it's going to be at least 100 calls.
Well, and we are investigating.
It's just way too much.
I asked the chief today to go back, and he's doing the digging back several years back, and we're looking at to see what trends and what kind of calls and what's going on. We're going to look into this seriously and deeply, so we'll be back in touch with you, okay?
Okay.
But don't hesitate to call the police if you need them. Let me finish. Anybody else in public participation? Yes, in the back of the room.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Hayes, and I am here to speak out against the ordinance concerning the Khans and their property across the street from my house. The properties at 900 Sherman Street and the property at 1711 LaSalle Street. My husband and I have lived on LaSalle for 21 years. Before that, however, I used to visit my grandparents who lived at 810 Dewey Street. That little strip of land that is commercial has never had a commercial property on it. And the reason it has never had a commercial property on it is because it was never granted commercial access by the state of Illinois. That is the difference between the Khans property and Ice Cream Haven and Groove Auto Sales and all the other commercial properties that are on that street. I went out over the weekend and I did some measurements. There's approximately 22 feet between the Khans property and the properties that are across the street. There is a minimum of approximately 20 feet to have two-way traffic on a residential street. So we're barely at that minimum right now. And that is to allow emergency vehicles. And mind you, there is a fire hydrant at the end of the street. 28 feet is better for off-street parking. Now, if this ordinance is passed tonight, are you going to take 6 feet away from the Khans and their property so that you can allow for parking, because not only are you going to have customers there, you're also going to have employees, and you're also going to have cars that the cons are trying to sell. I was told that the time to stop this would have been before the property had been purchased by the cons. Well, how are the people in the neighborhood supposed to know that the cons were purchasing it? Because the previous owner of the property was a single mother with children. We had no idea who was buying the property. How are we supposed to know that? How are we supposed to know that they're going to try to develop a very tiny piece of commercial property that has no access other than a residential neighborhood? I also went to go and measure the entrance to the property from the little blue stake that the cons have already placed in the ground to the lamppost. It is approximately 60 feet. LaSalle Street is the only reasonable entrance to this property, and you were going to use that 60-foot entrance to put 2 lanes of traffic. I was also told that this has no bearing on my son. And it doesn't matter necessarily where my son's bus stops in front of our house. What matters is that you're putting a used car lot 22 feet from my property. You're taking away my son's safe place to play. My son has a congenital hearing loss, and he's eventually going to go deaf. He cannot hear cars. And if he is playing in the driveway, and we have some strange car turn around in our driveway, he will not be able to hear it. So if you pass these 2 ordinances tonight, you're taking away my son's safe place to play. He will no longer be allowed to play outside. I hope that my emails have been circulating. I have at least 7 emails that were sent in by people who cannot be here tonight. If you have not seen those or you do not have them, I have them right here in my hand. You should have also received an email from my husband, who is not able to make it tonight because our son is sick. Our oldest son, who is in college, is not able to make the meeting, so he should have also sent in an email expressing his discontent for this. And I have other individuals that could not be here that have also sent in emails. So there are at least possibly 15 people that have sent in emails. And I do apologize, Mayor, I will stop talking now, but I am completely against this, and I am hoping that these 2 ordinances are denied, and I really hope that the cons are able to find a more suitable location somewhere along 61, because there are a myriad of properties that are more appropriate that already have commercial access.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay. Okay. Was there another one over here first? Is that, which one? One of you? And then we'll come this side.
Hi, my name is Jason Coder, and I live at 1655 North Charles Street in Belleville. I came to the zoning meeting, and it got denied. And then I missed the last meeting, and it said that something had turned around, and they had went back to approve it. So I'm here tonight to pretty much reiterate what she just said. We don't want it in our neighborhood. We've got multiple people that don't. I don't think it's safe. I definitely don't think it's safe with where it's at. That's one of the most dangerous intersections. We discussed this before. There's no entrance or exit right there. They've got to go onto this woman's street. You've got enough problems going on in this type of the neighborhood over there. And if you've looked at the car lot that's over there on Sherman, on the other side of the street that we're having all kinds of problems with, it's loaded with over 20 cars on a lot that's half the size of this right here. It's got 20 cars on it. Their grass is this high. They're parking around neighbors. So it's not necessarily Mr. Khan. It's what we're already seeing with other lots in our neighborhood. So even if he does this and it succeeds or it fails, now we've got another car lot to worry about in our neighborhood, which we're not taking care of the one that's there. I mean, if the alderman would drive by that one, shoot me some pictures. We've got about 10 of them. There's cars parked into the sidewalk. There's people stopping on the roads. They're blocking other sides. Almost going to be the exact same thing on the other side of the road is going to happen with this new car lot. Okay. So unless the city's going to make accommodations for the people that live there for parking that's private for them, I don't see where this is a good idea whatsoever. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir? You're not,
There's also several people here that
okay.
may not speak, that may raise their hands or hear about this also.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
My name's Josh Buellhorn. I live at 1706 North Charles. I have a problem with the car lot they're going to put in my backyard. I just don't understand how we came up here as a neighborhood and spoke against it, the zoning board denied it, and then you approved it after a 30-minute conversation with the man before the last meeting. The alderman gave the reason that this is the least of the problems that could be placed on that property. But other people have looked at the same property and have been told by the city that there's nothing you can do with this property, so there's no reason to buy it. It's been for sale for over a decade, and no one's bought it because you can't do anything with the property. I don't see what's changed. And the fact the car lot, I have personal friends that have tried to get a car lot in Belleville within the last year, and you told them that Belleville doesn't need any more car lots.
I didn't tell them that.
The city of Belleville told them that they do not, the Beckleys, Gary Beckley, Greg Beckley put in their thing, they came up here, they did all the same thing, and were told the city of Belleville does not need any more car lots.
Well,
And there's another car lot on Lebanon Avenue that's vacant. What's wrong with that one? And if this fails, then we just have another car lot in my backyard that's failed, and so somebody moves in and tries to sell sheds now, like they had at the old Clark station before it was the ice cream haven, and we have homeless people sleeping there and living in the sheds again. I mean, I don't understand why this is gonna go this way now. And what changed that now that it's a good idea to have a car lot? And this is the least of our worries. The lot is so small, the only way he could put anything else, if you rezone the other property that wasn't part of that property to begin with. Then yeah, he could put something else there. But if you deny the zoning, you can't put anything on that lot. So, what else could come? That's my question.
okay,
What's changed?
okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Khan?
My name is Atif Khan. Thank you for all the feedback that I received. I did my homework working with the city. I did my homework by all the businesses that already exist over there. There are 22 businesses on the street of Sherman which have side entrances. There's one business on Sherman, it's a floral shop, which has an entrance from the alley. We talked about like narrowing of the road. We already talked with the city that we're gonna be putting culverts, so that we're gonna be widening the road actually. We also talked about like, okay, it's a commercial C2 heavy zone traffic lot. Yes, we can park to 25 to 30 cars very comfortably. Am I gonna get a lot of cars? No. There are a lot of other businesses that I can get to open. For example, a garage, a car garage where I don't need to go through the zoning or the city or through the residence approval. I can just open a car garage and I can have tons of traffic over there instead. That's just an example. The ice cream shop across the street from us, we counted cars. They have the similar situation with side entrance as well. They bring about 150 to 175 cars a day. How many cars a used car lot is gonna bring? How many customers are gonna bring? We're probably talking about 5 to 6 customers coming in per day, if that. Our hours are from 10 to 5. 10 to 5 means like we're not open when the school bus are running in the morning. We are closed on the weekends. Of course, we're gonna do business by appointment only, if necessary or if needed at that time. So it's not that we're gonna increase the traffic, we're actually gonna better the neighborhood. The house that I was referred to earlier, that house, if there's somebody comes in, I welcome all the aldermen to come and check the house out and see what, that was very ugly, bad house, decreasing the value of the neighborhood. Now buying those 2 properties, I'm a resident of those, it's in my best interest to increase the value. I put a lot of money in that house to make it better. I'm gonna put a white big fence to cover it. The gentleman who just talked about before me, he was talking about like he doesn't want the car lot, but if you come and look at his house is eyesore. His stuff is eyesore. He's got tires, he's got fridge, he's got something without covering anything. I'm gonna go back to the city later on if this goes through, like, okay, cover your crap. You just cannot leave it because you're decreasing the value of the neighborhood. Do something good for the neighborhood. All my intention is to work with the city, put the culverts in, widening the road, make it better, lessen traffic, and I'm not gonna have any concern. You're talking about like a lot of car lots? There's only one car lot on them. I went from 161 all the way to Carlisle. That's 8.2 miles. You know how many car lots are on 8.2 miles? 1. Only 1 car lot. So it's not like we're gonna have car lots on Sherman Street a lot. The 22 businesses currently right now on that Sherman Street with side entrances, if I've been denied, that's gonna be discriminatory to my business. I'm only coming in with good faith. I'm not gonna bring traffic. If any business should go in, then it should be something like car lot, which is gonna decrease the traffic. And I respect all the neighbors and everything. I mean well, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. No, hold on, sir. Sir.
Call my house an eyesore.
Okay, sir.
You ain't gonna say nothing?
Sir, please, I need to keep some order here, okay? Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken who has something they would like to say? Yes, ma'am?
My name is Lisa Kahn, and I just wanted to make a few more points in support of the lot on Sherman Street. As it was already mentioned, this is already a C2 heavy commercial lot. We are entrepreneurs. We have dabbled in a lot of different businesses. We have bought this lot, and we will be putting a business on it of some sort. The only reason we're here right now is because we're interested in doing a car lot, and that requires a special use permit. We feel that a business of this nature would cause less traffic than something else that could go on that piece of land. We do believe that it is a reasonable sized land, and yes, several things could go there. There are many different options that could occur. It is true that the only way to get onto that specific lot is to turn off of Sherman onto LaSalle and turn into the lot from there. The City of Belleville, the engineering department, has agreed that that is the only option, and they are fine with it. IDOT has said that that is the only option, and it is acceptable. As Mr. Khan mentioned, we do plan on putting culverts in the ditch there, which will widen the road there. Anybody who is entering into the lot is going to turn directly onto LaSalle and directly into the lot. Mrs. Hayes' house is 2 houses down, and we do believe that anybody who turns onto LaSalle and into the lot will not be anywhere near her house. We don't think that there will be any danger to her child. We can take measures to make sure that our customers do not drive down LaSalle. We are more than happy to do that. We are willing to work with the neighbors. But this is something that is a fair business idea, and we hope that it goes through. And I appreciate all the support of the aldermen who have already agreed with us, and I hope you still do. One last thing is, if this is denied, we will still be pursuing a business on this lot. And we'll end up with a business that doesn't need a special use permit. We won't have to come in front of all of you. We will still create something, and it could be something that increases the traffic. And we don't want that either. So I hope that you will approve this tonight.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Yes, sir?
My name is Dan Bricker. I live on Shell Street. This is real quick. My daughter lives on LaSalle. She's in Florida right now. So she asked me if I'd come down. She's against it, and I'm against it. I'm just a block away. We just prefer not go in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to close public participation. This time, ladies and gentlemen, I have a little reading to do. We have 2 proclamations this evening. Dean, can I get you to get me a water? Thanks. We have 2 proclamations this evening. The first one is Red Ribbon Week. Say that fast. And this is an important topic because, as we all know, we are seeing, and the police department wouldn't deny this, we are probably seeing, thank you, the one situation that has increased, we know, is calls for service dealing with overdoses and even deaths in people who have overdosed. The proclamation reads as the following. Whereas the abuse of alcohol and drugs in this nation has reached epidemic stages, and whereas it is imperative that visible, unified prevention education efforts by community members be launched to eliminate the demand for drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles, no use of illegal drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will celebrate in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd to 31st, and whereas businesses, government, parents, law enforcement, media, medical institutions, religious institutions, schools, senior citizens, service organizations, and youth will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red-free ribbons during this week-long campaign. And whereas the community of Belleville, Illinois supports the goals of the National Red Ribbon Campaign, and now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, do hereby proclaim October 23rd to October 31st as Red Ribbon Week and encourage our citizens to participate in drug prevention, education activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but all year long, making a visible and viable statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free community. It's a very, very important situation, and it's more so than we've seen in recent years in a long time. The number of calls that I hear go out from the police department and fire department that they respond to for drug overdoses is truly, I think, if we were to research that, at an all-time high. So we do need to all do everything we can to seriously try to educate our children, and it's not just children. I think we had an overdose last night, the young gentleman who passed away last night or the night before was 43. So it's not just young teens, it's all ages, okay? The next item, I'm asked to read a proclamation recognizing Extra Mile Day. So this next proclamation states, whereas the City of Belleville is a community that acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service, and is why Belleville actively works to be a community of character. And whereas Belleville is a community that encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas it is evident with the establishment of the basic initiative, Belleville's Community of Character Initiative, and it is evident through community-wide projects such as Belleville Helping Belleville Day, as well as the countless continuing service rising from our schools, churches, service agencies, and businesses, which has helped establish Belleville's status as an all-American city. And whereas Belleville is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within the community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community, and will honor such individuals at its annual Citizens of Character dinner. And whereas Belleville acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America Foundation to create 550 Extra Mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2019, as Belleville, being a community of character, continues to highlight the belief that communities are made stronger through individuals and organizations who dedicate themselves to going the extra mile in volunteerism and service. Now, therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2019 to be Extra Mile Day in Belleville, and encourage each individual in our community to take time on this day to go the extra mile in his or her own life, and to acknowledge all those around us who are inspirational in their efforts to make their organizations, families, communities, country, or world a better place. Two outstanding proclamations that I think all of us would agree we need to do everything we can to adhere to and promote. So I appreciate those organizations asking to have those read. We now go into the regular portion of tonight's meeting, number 8 on the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve City Council meeting minutes and executive session minutes of October 7th, 2019. Do I hear a motion? Alderman Diddleman, second by Alderman Wiggington, to receive and file. All in favor of receiving and file those minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? What's the question?
I want to go ahead and make a correction
What's your proposed correction?
Well, it says that Alderman Ovian stood up at West Belleville meeting and said this called police, Assistant Police Chief Icecan, he will take control of it. The city does not have the manpower for this. It's not what I said. What I said was, at that meeting, is that I rode with Assistant Police Chief Matt Icecan, and we went ahead and he tagged a number of vehicles who were not properly licensed. But I also said at the meeting, we went ahead and found a property that was not even registered in the crime-free housing meeting. And the final statement I said was, thank God we have Matt Icecan on our side. That's the correction, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we can note that. I'm not going to belabor this, but I heard it a little bit different that day. So we'll note your statement, and we'll put that in the notice of that your comments will be duly noted. We already voted on that. I'm sorry I missed your comment before we took the vote. At this time, we move on to claims, payroll, and disbursements. Motion to approve the claims and disbursements in the amount of the claims in the amount of $4,338,235.53, and the payroll in the amount of $872,993.52. Do I hear a motion to receive and to approve? Alderman Anthony, second by Alderman Ferguson. The motion would be to approve the claims and disbursements and the payroll. Any discussion on these amounts? Roll call.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Hazel.
Aye.
Pusa. Duco. Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Wygant. Wiggington. Barfield.
Motion carries. I'd ask for a motion to receive and file the Treasurer's Report of September 2019 and the Statement of Cash and Investment Report of September 2019. Motion by Alderman Schaefer. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Ferguson. Do I hear any discussion on these two reports? Hearing none, all in favor of receiving and filing for audit signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We go on to oral reports. There's from 11A for under administration. I'd ask for a motion to approve a contract with St. Clair County Trustee Payment Account to purchase the property at 303 South Church, parcel number 08-27-01131-043 in the amount of $795. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Steele, second by Alderman Rothweiler. It's in their ward. Do I hear any discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Pusa. Duco. Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Wygant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella.
Motion carries. 11A2, ask for a motion from someone to approve a real estate agreement with Levi Trentman for the property at 1030 Freeburg Avenue, parcel number 08-27.0-313-017 in the amount of $90,000. This was talked about in pretty great detail at the last council meeting executive session. Alderman Rothweiler making a motion. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Steele. Do I hear discussion on this motion for property acquisition? Roll call.
Pusa. Duco. Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Wygant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella. Hazel.
Motion carries. Just for the sake of the audience here, this property was dealing with the future, what we hope to be the roundabout at Freeburg Avenue in the South Belt. And this was a piece that was necessary to hopefully make this happen eventually. So that answers hopefully some questions. Next, I'd ask for a motion to set the date of annual joint review board meeting for all activities with TIF districts for Thursday, December 5th, 2019, at the time listed in the attached memo. Do I hear a motion for that? Alderman Schaefer, second by Pusa. Do I hear discussion regarding, this is an annual event we must do each year to make sure that we're in compliance and that we report and have a chance for people to come and ask questions if desired about the TIF funds. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. That was okay to have an all in favor vote. Number 11A4, I'd ask for a motion to nominate Alderman Kinsella as the public member nominee for the Joint Review Board meetings for all active TIF districts to be held on that December 5th date, 2019. He has done this in the past. Alderman Hazel, Alderman Duco is the second. This is not new, but somebody has to come spend the good part of the day with us, and he is chairman of economic development, so that's why we pick on him. Everybody understand? So is that one I can do all in favor as well?
Correct, you can do a voice vote.
All in favor of the motion to approve Alderman Kinsella signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Finance, Alderman Kinsella.
On behalf of Finance, I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2019 audit reports.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second by Schaefer on the audit? The auditor came to the last finance meeting, gave us a little overview. You've gotten information shared with all of you. I think it's fair to say, Kevin, the audit was in good standing? Yes. So is there any questions that anybody's burning to know about the auditor? But it was, I've been here for quite a while, and I'm very pleased that we're in no trouble. So it all looks good. So if there's no further question, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Duco? Randall? Ferguson? Anthony? Ovian? Dintelman? Schaefer? Steele? Rothweiler? Elmore? Wygant? Wiggington? Barfield? Kinsella? Hazel? Pusa?
Motion carries. We have three motions coming from the zoning board. Can we read them together? Is there a problem, or?
No. I have one stipulation on 11C1, but I can mention it now if you like.
Yeah, what's your request?
There was some confusion in zoning, but I've already talked to the property owners. They're good with it, that the product used for this fencing is PVC. They're in complete agreement.
Owners are here?
Yep.
That's okay? Okay, so I'll ask the clerk to read these three together.
11C1, 62 October 19, James and Carolyn Needles, a request for an area bulk variance to permit a fence 1 foot in height above the allowed maximum of 6 feet at 405 Garden Boulevard, parcel number 08230307046, located in an A1 single-family residence district. Applicable sections of the zoning code 162.392F and 162.570, Ward 7, Zoning Board recommended approval by a majority vote of 4 to 0 to 1. 11C2, 63 October 19, Golden Orchard LLC, a request for an area bulk variance for parcel number 08360403032, 649 Lake Mead Court, to permit a principal building lot coverage 3% over the allowed 30% maximum percentage of lot building coverage in an A1H single-family residence district. Applicable sections of the zoning code 162.122 and 162.570, Ward 6, Board unanimously recommended approval. 11C3, 64 October 19, Kingdom Life Christian Ministries, a request for a use variance to operate a church at 10,400 West Main Street, parcel number 02260425027, located in a C2 heavy commercial district. Applicable section of the zoning code 162.570, Ward 8. Zoning Board unanimously recommended approval.
Do I hear a motion to approve, Alderman Wiggington, to approve these cases, these three cases, and have the proper ordinance drawn? Is that correct, Alderman Wiggington?
Yes.
And second, Alderman Barfield. So we have a motion and we have a second to have 11C1, 11C2, and 11C3, case number 62, 63, and 64 from the zoning board to be approved and have the proper ordinances drawn. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Streets and grades, Alderman Wiggington.
On behalf of Streets and Grades Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve a street light to be installed at 3312 West 8th Street. So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Second by Alderman Duco. Do I hear discussion about this? Roll call.
Randall. Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Wygant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella. Hazel. Pusa. Duco.
Motion carries. 11D2.
11D2, on behalf of Streets and Grades Committee, I'd like to make a motion to close West East Street between North 16th and North 17th Street on November 4th, 2019 at 8 a.m. through November 5th, 2019 at 8 p.m. for the moving of large equipment. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Wiggington. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Ferguson. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We go to the next page. Alderman
11D3,
Wiggington.
on behalf of Streets and Grades Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve scrapping the following vehicles. Sanitation truck 1994 Ford 8000, VIN number 1FDZW82E1RVA 37258. A street truck 1984 Chevrolet pickup, VIN number 1GCFC24D0ES192915. A street truck 1995 Ford pickup, VIN number 2F2HF25H5SCA 58497. A street truck, a 1984 Chevrolet C30, VIN number 1GCG C34M435107665, and a cemetery truck 2002 Dodge Dakota, VIN number 1B7GG32X52S659513. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Wiggington. Do I hear a second to approve the motion? Rothweiler seconds the motion to scrap these vehicles as just explained and so read. Discussion on this? Roll call.
Ferguson. Anthony. Ovian. Dintelman. Schaefer. Steele. Rothweiler. Elmore. Wygant. Wiggington. Barfield. Kinsella. Hazel. Pusa. Duco. Randall.
Motion carries. Two communications, can we read them together?
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Clerk, you okay?
12A, Lindenwood University Belleville Commencement Ceremony, 12/14/2019. Request from Lindenwood University to hold their 2019 commencement ceremony Saturday, December 14, 2019, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Requesting assistance with traffic control 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. 12B, downtown lighting of trees for the holidays. Request from Belleville Main Street to install and decorate 4 trees, and that should be per block, on each side of Main Street from 3rd Street to Charles Street. The LED lights will be in place after Veterans Day and will be removed mid-February to be rehung yearly. Lighting and installation at no cost to the city, no city manpower required.
Do I hear a motion to approve these two communications, 12A and 12B? Ferguson and Schaefer. Any questions on these two communications? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions, none. Ordinances, I'd like to have a motion to read by title only. Ordinance 8386, 8387, 8388, 8389, 8390, 8391, 8392, 8393, 8394, and 8395. Do I hear a motion to read those by title only? Alderman Hazel, second by Carmen Duco. If there's no further questions about reading them by title only, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So I take it a couple of these you're probably going to want to start off with first one. There's two, right? Okay, let's go separate. Just go ahead first two.
15A, Ordinance 8386, 2019, a zoning ordinance in regards to 60 September 19, Atif Khan.
So we have I hear a motion to, this is to motion to approve the ordinance. Do I hear a motion? Alderman by Kinsella, second by Hazel. Open up discussion. Is there any further discussion after what you've heard this evening? I know we had a pretty healthy debate before. Anissa, is there anything else that I've missed or what was said tonight? You know, I think the only thing I just want to emphasize is this property Go ahead, Anissa, because we've had a lot of discussion on this, and sometimes I'm listening, and I want to make sure that we listening and covering.
I just want to provide a clarification. So the first ordinance is for a special use permit for used car sales. The second is for a lowering of the minimum lot size below the requirements for the A2 zoning district, because the cons do seek to be able to move their property line. But I want to provide a clarification. Even if this is defeated and we go under the C2 zoning for whatever is built, a site plan will be required, and it will have to go to Planning Commission, and it will have to come before City Council for approval as well. But there is no notification process for site plan.
That was the first thing that I wanted to make sure that you were aware. There has to be a site plan with any used car.
Regardless of what goes on the
Yeah, with
property.
any used car facility, and I think Mr. Khan knows that, and he's well aware that he's got to, if this would move forward tonight, he has to have that prepared and has to share that with staff and has that reviewed and the Planning Commission as well.
Planning Commission and then City Council.
And then
approval
City
per the
Council.
City Code.
But it's already zoned commercial.
Correct.
There were some calls coming to my office, I'm not saying by all aldermen, but a mixture of people that said a couple people from the public called, left messages that they wanted to make sure that the property remains single family. It's been commercial for some time.
That is correct. In the C2 zoning district, a single-family residence is a permitted use. So if at one time there was a home on the property, it was within the bounds of the zoning, but it does allow for a more intensive use under the commercial district regulations.
And it is true that there's a lot of uses that would not need this council's approval, right?
It would not need the council's approval for the use, but it would have to have approval for the site plan.
Okay, right. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it's, and in the site plan, there's still the opportunity to specify some of the statements that were made about certain things, I think can still be talked about during the site plan specifically. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further questions? Hearing none, yes.
I would like to say something, Mayor. Mayor, I was placed in a situation to where my responsibilities to my ward is to protect the rights of all of our property owners. Not only the rights of somebody who owns a property that wants to develop it, but also to the rights of the property owners that live around that's going to be affected by it. So in the spirit of can't we all get along, I look at the issues that are brought to my attention and how do we alleviate those problems and those potential issues, whether they're founded or unfounded. But things that were brought to my attention were drainage, traffic, lighting, trash, and parking. Now, none of these are specific to the use being requested tonight. They would pertain to any business going on that property. And we are not here to make sure that this property remains vacant, which I'm sure many would prefer. But there are uses for this property that will affect my property owners, residents, constituents, much greater than this use. And I do understand everyone's concerns, and I appreciate that. And one of the reasons why I originally opposed this in zoning, but after gaining more information and giving more consideration to the property owners, I now support this because this use, it causes the least amount of problems with all of the problems that have been stated. So I just want to say that we've addressed the drainage issue by putting in culverts, the traffic issue where we've looked at used car lots and there is not much of a traffic change. It's not like it's going to have a considerable amount of traffic. The lighting, the property owner has agreed to put in LED lighting, which is more directional and not of a flood style. It's not going to generate a lot of trash. And the parking, he's agreed that there won't be any on-street parking. We all know that you can't park unlicensed vehicles on the streets. And I just believe that with the improvements that'll be done to that street for the entrance into this property, that this usage is all right for that property and would cause the least amount of impact to the neighborhood.
And Ms. McCaskill, it definitely must be paved. It has to be a hard surface, so everybody understands that. That's not a, that's not a choice. That's why part of our ordinance. So, any other aldermen have any comments? Yes, sir, Alderman Elmer.
Yeah, this is a very unique conflict we've had here with the zoning board unanimously denying and then bringing it to, and the neighborhood spoke at zoning that night, and they spoke again tonight. Now, they didn't speak last time when we voted to have an ordinance drawn, and the two home aldermen, are in favor of it, which, that's great to see that they are comfortable with it, except that the neighborhood is so adamantly against it, and they have some very valid reasons. And I understand that this 22-foot street may or will be widened at some point, that there is no culvert there now, but at some point there will be a culvert there. This is a very sensitive watershed area that we talk about repeatedly in master sewer. The alley is not suited for an exit egress right now. These are all things that, we're saying can change with time. And great, if they change, you refile the application and you come back and say, okay, the street's wide and the culvert's in. There's not nearly as much traffic issues on Sherman. I don't know if we've even brought that. I mean, it's been brought up before, but we've got a huge bottleneck there that is a very dangerous section where it goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and it's always a screeching band of excitement. Years ago, Mayor Eckert encouraged us all, and encouraged me personally, to always look out for the neighborhoods. And that's what I tend to go to on this conflict here, is the neighbors that are there. And I think that was good advice from the mayor. I think we've tried to do that before. I've run into this conflict once before, and it didn't turn out well when you don't work with the neighbors. And I'm just going to close up with saying, a couple things, 2 more things. When do customers come to look at used cars on used car lots? When the lot's closed. Number 2, just ask yourself, how would you feel about a used car lot in your neighborhood? Until these things are remediated. The wideness of the street, which 2 cars can't go in opposite direction without pulling over a little bit. There is no culvert there. Yes, there needs to be one there, but it's not there today. And pulling off of Sherman on that bottleneck, I just can't imagine the traffic issues that we're gonna have and the rear end accidents. If it's only 1 car a day, great. I mean, I hope you get more than 1 car a day because you're trying to sell cars. That's what makes a business successful. But there are some issues that we're trying to address, and they're not addressed yet. So for right now, I just would encourage everybody to think about how would you feel about it if it was your neighborhood. That's all I have.
Alderman Kinsella.
I'd like to point out that all those difficulties that you stated would be the same if they opened a coffee shop there or a garage there. Just because it's out of used car sales doesn't make a difference, and they have a right to build something there. I used to always go with whatever the people from the neighborhood said, because that's easy. That's an easy out. Well, I got 5 or 6 people that don't like it. But I've grown in this position. I've been around a while. And I have seen that we have to balance between a person who's bought the property and wants to do something with it and the neighbors. And the problems that the neighbors are bringing up have already been handled. We're already talking about less traffic than a lot of things. I think that when you really look at things, you have to see what kind of arguments are they bringing. And Alderman Hazel pointed out all of those. And therefore, I'm supporting it.
Alderman Randall.
Thank you, Mayor. Unless you live close to a used car lot, you're probably not aware of the issues that creep over time. The issue with the access off of Sherman onto the south. My street is an access point for a used car lot. It can be a freaking nightmare. Sometime back, the alderman from Ward 1 didn't want to put any stipulations on a lot that's across the street on Sherman. And you've heard the public tonight express their displeasure with how that lot was. It is not a godsend by any means. And it is disservice to the neighborhood to allow that lot to be put there.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mayor, I just recently went ahead and sent something to Nissa. It's a nightmare when we have cars that basically are so tightly on a lot that there is no room to put any further vehicles on it. It doesn't go ahead and basically lessen the number of vehicles. I'll give you a good example. In 4501 North Belt West, which is in my ward, it's a nightmare when you look at that. And the people there that come to go ahead and pull out of that facility, I wonder if they actually know what they're buying, because a lot of those cars that are being repaired there and sold are salvage vehicles.
So,
We know what goes on? Don't think so. But a used car lot today is never going to go ahead and be just 4, 5, 10, 20 cars. It's going to increase to the point where it's going to have to be on the street.
we're not going to allow the street, I mean, and if we are, we need to be dealing. The one thing I think you heard here tonight, we still have to approve the site plan. So discussions with Mr. Khan about how many cars and certain conditions, you know, in some of these previous ones years ago, like by your house, Ken, I don't know when that car lot went into effect, way before I was on this council. So we're talking 20-some years ago, and we can't go back and retroactively inflict laws on people that have been in business like that. But on the new ones today, we do have the ability to set limits on numbers of cars and on spacing and on lighting and on pavement and those things that years ago, many of them got by with. So we do, I mean, we have some that I'm not real proud of either. Anissa?
Per what you just said, I think you might want to look at the draft language that is before you this evening, because those criteria are not written in. So if you're going to vote on this ordinance tonight, and I understand that the aldermen have recommended approval, if you're attempting to address these concerns to make sure that some of these issues don't occur, now would be the time to amend that to allow for some of the things that you listed, Alderman Hazel, to be codified into the ordinance. It's one thing for it to be stated and promised to you, but if it's in the ordinance, it's enforceable.
So that wouldn't be in the site plan? It wouldn't be?
Well, no, there's some things that are required by the code, but the LED lighting is not required. That, you know, that's something that's been promised to not infringe upon the neighbors because it's directable, but the code does not require that. So if that's something that you want, you need to make sure that it's in the ordinance.
Yeah, if you want to amend a motion to include any of these
As
stipulations.
well as the limitation on the number of cars. If you have a number that you think would be suitable for the
Maximum.
lot, not to exceed a certain number or whatever, the code does not address that right now. So if you're going to recommend approval and you want to make sure that there are certain mainstays,
The code does state it has to be a hard surface.
it has to be a hard surface.
And that the, what else does the code say that I might be missing here?
It has to be a hard surface.
That's it.
And that site plan is
So,
required.
and I'm gonna just ask Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, do you have a number that you've kind of thought of? Because it's not a real, you gotta have room for an employee, you gotta have room for people who are customers. How many cars were you thinking, sir?
We haven't done the official survey of the property, that has to be done, so what the property line is. But I have told other people, like, we are going to like have white lanes, so everybody has to park in that specific lane. Today, I don't know how many lanes we could have, but I'm not gonna be like across the street. And you wanna put this in the ordinance tonight? Go ahead, feel free, please go ahead. I insist you put it on there. But it's gonna be clean line. I mean, if I'm gonna come in, I can come in very easily and make a U-turn and leave. And at nighttime, there will be no traffic because we're gonna block the entrance. Once we close the lot, we're gonna block the entrance.
So, do you, I mean, and I know this, I didn't think about this, that's a good point. Do you think 15 cars that are for sale would be a maximum that you would have on that lot?
That lot is quite big, more than 15 cars. 15 cars are just like.
Alderman Consilla?
I'd like to suggest that as a number, we say that it should be the number of parking spaces that follow the city code, because we have a regulation on size of parking spaces, minus 2, one for the worker and one for somebody visiting.
Vanessa?
We don't have a criteria for the number of parking spaces for this particular use. We have a general blanket number for the number of employees at the maximum shift, but we do not have something that would cover the number of parking spaces for this particular type of use.
But I'm talking about the size of parking spaces.
So basically you
So
would.
if he can get 30 parking spaces in there, he can use 28 for used cars.
As long as typical site circulation is adhered to and that type of, I mean, it's up to you all what you feel is best, but I was just pointing out that if you want to regulate and ensure that this ordinance locks down certain things that you would like to see on the site, it has to be done in the ordinance. It cannot be done for conversation.
And, Your Honor, I would like to agree with what Alderman Randall said. I made a mistake a few years ago. I'm not going to make that one again, okay? I would like to change my motion to be a limit in the number of cars based on the number of spaces he can have, parking spaces according to the city's rules, minus 2, so that we have some place for other people to
It's
park. And I'd like to also include LED lighting and cameras, which he's already agreed to.
Alderman Hazel?
And I have the second. So, could we not address that after we get the site plan? When we have the approval of the site plan, could that not be stipulated at that time when we have that discussion?
If it's a condition on the special use permit, it needs to be in this ordinance.
Okay, all right.
So,
Well, I'm
so
in agreement
my only
with that
question
with the
is,
lights.
you could have an employee and more than one person there at a time, so I'm just gonna say that I think that two non-cars is maybe a little bit lean.
You want to go 3?
I think that you need to go at least to 3, but is there, Anissa, the normal width of a car, can we apply what we do to normal other?
What I will say is that the standards in our zoning code are outdated. We allow for a 9x19 parking stall. However, that doesn't necessarily account for a large-sized SUV or something of that nature. But our code allows for 9x19 as far as the dimensions of a parking stall.
Okay.
So to take the code that we have today, the 9x19,
Or whatever they agree to. They may want to make it wider because you want room for people to walk around them. I mean,
I would also suggest that we need to address used car lots
we
separately from
we
this
know that,
issue.
we know that. We just
And-
haven't had time. This came up ever since the discussion of the last one on West Main.
Every car lot in town with this
No.
one example.
No, we do, but, Mr. Khan, do you have, don't normally do this, but do you have a recommendation to help us solve this tonight?
Recommendation.
I mean, you agree that you don't want spots so narrow that they're jammed in there where people can't get around them? I mean,
Absolutely, you can add that into the ordinance. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not trying to make a jam pack, like, okay, let me put 50 cars in there. It's gonna be dings and dangs, and it's gonna affect my business if I have more dings and dangs in my car. It's gonna be a side job for me. I'm not building an empire over here. It's just gonna be a small used car lot, that's all.
So do you think 24 cars would be a fair number?
I don't have the survey done, I don't know, if this lot allows 50 cars and I'm agreeing to 24 tonight, what are we gonna do for the remaining 24 spaces? That's just an example.
I understand, but I know I drove past it this week, and I don't think 50 cars is.
That's just an example.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I don't wanna say 10 cars, but.
I'm not saying 10, but I'm saying,
Cars available.
I'm saying that if we put a maximum of 2 dozen, that way they have room for customers and for staff. I don't think it's,
Why don't we make the size 12 by 19? That'll work.
the lot,
Yeah, there'd be
the
room for
spaces.
people to walk between the cars and look at them, and we'd have something that's concrete, and then it will be whatever can fit on the lot.
Is that makes,
okay, Joe?
huh?
That we stipulate they be 12 by?
Less the number of 4, I would suggest 4 for customers and staff.
Okay, less 4.
Okay? So 12 by 19 would be the number of stalls to be equated. What's that?
The dimension.
That would be the dimensions for the stalls.
It's pretty wide.
Well, it is, but for walking around and giving them plenty of room to open up a door and that, they're not jammed in there like sardines.
10 by 20 sounds more than enough. 12's wide, really wide.
Instead of 9. What do you want? You want to suggest?
Yeah, I would.
Is 12 too wide?
12 is pretty wide.
10? Everybody okay? 10. Okay, let's go with 10 by.
So 10 by 19 with 4 stalls for 4 stalls for either customers and our staff. And that would be the you know, can't go more than that.
With the LED lighting.
With the LED lighting, it's already paved, that has to be paved.
And working with the city to alleviate the drainage problem.
Yeah, we're gonna work with the city to alleviate, as he gets his site plan, that's gonna also be looked at, the drainage situation and the entrances.
I'm already contracted with the guy who's gonna actually do all the way from the end of the street to the fence of the other neighbor. So this will be all caved in. I will pay for all the labor. Culverts, I'll work with the city. This will be widened. That problem will be resolved. There will be no test driving on that street.
Okay.
And there'll be no after park because the entrance of that lot is gonna be blocked at nighttime after 5 o'clock when I leave. So nobody can come in.
Okay.
I will help the neighbors. I'm so much willing to work with the neighbors. You know, I listen to their concerns and I appreciate that. And I did not meant to like attack gentleman over there. All I was, and I apologize for that. I in front of ordinance, I'm apologizing to you, but you do have tires. They have tires and refrigerators.
Okay. Let's get on with the, so we have okay, hold it. In your motion, 10 by 19, LED lighting, cameras, and cameras is included, and we have 4 spots that are dedicated to customers / staff, right? Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? Roll call.
Anthony. Ovian.
No.
Dintelman.
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Rothweiler.
No.
Elmore.
No.
Wygant.
Aye.
Wigington.
No.
Barfield.
No.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Hazel.